Fan of my partner Jeff Tansler in Georgia, and a very dear friend, so I appreciate the opportunity to come down here and speak to the Macon Touchdown Club. This is a different year to say the least, and as you heard my introduction, it's really humbling when I hear it, about all the things that I got to accomplish because of a lot of other people. You get up here and you think this is all about you, but when I hear the awards I got, the championships that I won, none of it would have happened without the people around me. And that all started at a very young age, and that's one thing that it's fun to be at events like this around the state of Georgia, to see student athletes being honored. Congratulations to all the student athletes that are here tonight. It's always an accomplishment to do that, to get recognized, and I think as football players, that's one thing that we enjoy, to be recognized for the hard work and the dedication you put in. And congratulations to Coach also. You sound like a tremendous leader, and certainly you're doing it to a different manual that's never been written this year, and that's something that I think these student athletes should certainly get a little bit more credit for. It's because a couple of things I'm going to talk to you tonight really does play into everything that's happened. As I started football at a young age, I had people that supported me. I started up in Sandy Springs, playing popular football. And my dad was a coach at that time. And my dad was pretty strict as a coach. You would have never known, hearing my father coach us, that he had any kids on the team. Because I don't think most mothers would let a father talk to their kids like that. But we understood what he was talking about, and we understood his dedication to us. And I think that's one thing that you have, and the athletes that are here tonight, that you can pass on and be leaders with your team, to understand the opportunities that you have right now. And those opportunities could shape your life. You may not think that it could shape your life sitting in high school right now, but that's when it does shape your life. You're learning how to work with people, you're learning how to be a good teammate, and you're learning to do things on the move. One thing about football, and I think coaches and football players and even parents, we are creatures of habit. When I first booked this, I think this was the week leading up to the Alabama game. I was going to be really excited to tell y'all how we were going to play Alabama again and probably get beat again. I don't know. It's tough, but that's coming. But everything got changed. And the one thing that about 2020 that I think probably should be the slogan is change. Everything's changed. There's no more routines that you were used to. There's no manual to tell you exactly what to do. We're doing a lot of this as we move along. And that's a heck of a thing to ask a lot of people, a lot of students, a lot of parents, a lot of people that run our school systems, that run our communities. Everybody's had to change. And change isn't easy. Change is never easy. Change wasn't easy for me when I first started football. Change wasn't easy for me when I failed third grade. Change wasn't easy for me when I had to go into classrooms 3 years ago and have students turn around and go, "Who is the old man in the back?" Well, that's me. And it was fun, but it was change. It was something that I had to get out of the norm to do. And no matter what you do in life, change is the only constant thing. And the way you handle things today will shape you for tomorrow. As you were hearing Larry talk about, I was very lucky to kick footballs. Let's be honest. You're going to pick a position in football and you want to have your health about you, kicking's not a bad way to go. Though I will tell Dr. Hoffman I've got 2 new hips and triple back fusion, so everything did fall apart. But thank goodness we have people like that can replace those parts, and it's a lifesaver and a game changer. But to be able to go and to have teammates such as a Herschel Walker, such as a Walter Payton. So they had my respect. And what that did for me was gave me an opportunity. The opportunity to be the best I can be for my teammates, for everybody in the Bulldog Nation, for everybody back at Regan High School, for everybody back in Chicago, and even to Arizona. With every little bit of change, you've got opportunities that you can take advantage of. Some of them are really hard to see. Some of them sometimes you can't see because it's so frustrating. That's what you have your parents for. That's what you have your coaches for, your teachers for. Might be your preacher, your pastors. It might be your aunt and uncle. But everybody is going to help you understand why change happens. And the best part of when change comes, you have great opportunities. My senior year, we won state my junior year. We come back my senior year. The last play of the first game, my senior year, tore my knee up. Didn't have everybody that was interested in me dropped off. Georgia was the one school that said, no, we're going to give you an opportunity. Even though things have changed, you're not playing, we're still going to give you an opportunity to come to the University of Georgia. They said, if you get healthy, we like what we see, we're still going to honor your scholarship. When I got hurt, I felt like the world had ended. But I had a coach, I had teachers, kept telling me this is just the start of something new. And all of a sudden I felt like, yeah, there is an opportunity. I've got to get out there and work hard. So what I did, I graduated early from high school. And nobody did that back then. And I enrolled in Georgia on my own with my father's help of my father, of course, financially. And I went into spring ball that year to compete, to show them I was still healthy, I could still kick. And at the end of that spring, Coach Dooley said, yes, we're still honoring your scholarship. We love to have you come here. You know, that was something that, again, change. It was change that I didn't want any part of. But with that change came an opportunity. And the opportunity has not stopped yet. Because when I went to Georgia, great things happened. First thing that happened is, I was a kicker. I didn't have to watch the game all the time. So what I did was I watched the cheerleaders. I ended up marrying one of them. We spent 35 years together. But, you make relationships there. You make your teammates that you have. I still talk to my teammates from that Georgia team on a daily basis. It's something that when you come together in a team, your athletes know you're on a special team, coach. It's something you wouldn't give up to the world. You want to make that experience the best it can be. And at Georgia, I was able to do that because we had a standard at Georgia of excellence. And if you didn't hold yourself to that, your teammates would. Not so much the coaches. The coaches coach. They do what they want. But it's up to the team and your teammates to demand excellence. And I always did that. I always wanted to be more than a kicker. And I think that's the way I was accepted. Not only did I kick, but in practice, if it was a hot day and the lineman had all these drills, I'd jump in, give them another guy in line so they could get an extra breath. I'd always tell the coaches I was better than any quarterback you had, so let me go be the quarterback for the DBs. And I'd do that. If it was real hot, I'd go get the water tank and bring it around the players. Because I just wanted them to know that every opportunity I had to be better and to be a better teammate, I was going to take advantage of it. And what kind of opportunity is it to kick extra points for Herschel Walker? To kick extra points for Walter Payton? That's an honor. And that's how I approach it. And as I say, things change, and with change comes opportunity, but none of it is any good without preparation. You have to be prepared to seize that opportunity, because you don't know what it's going to be. But being the best you can be as a person, gives you that opportunity to take advantage of that. You know, I did some, I had some great kicks. They never show the highlights of the ones you miss. And that happens. And I think that's really the test of the tale about a kicker. You know, two things can happen when you miss. Your teammates come up, pat you on the back, say, hey man, you did it next time. Or nobody comes around me at all. It's almost like the pandemic, you know, 6 feet away from the kicker. Nobody likes the kicker right now. And then you see 12 feet. Then you're not in the locker room. And that's when you know, looking for a new opportunity. So, that does happen. But you know what? At times when you are challenged, you fall back on what you've done to prepare yourself. And never in any of my career did I ever have a teammate or a coach question my preparation. Did I make them all? Absolutely not. Did I miss them because I wasn't prepared properly? Absolutely not. I missed them because I missed them. And I get back on the horse and you try to make the next one. But I was never going to let down my coaches, my teammates, my fans, anybody by not being prepared. Because it is a chain reaction. You get change. From change comes opportunity. And the only way you can take advantage of opportunity is to be prepared. As student athletes, that comes into school. That comes into your community. That comes into how good of a friend are you to classmates that you might not even know. What kind of a teammate are you? And then more importantly, what kind of a person are you to yourself? That's what a mirror is good for. A mirror is good to look into it every day. Make sure you're still there. Make sure it's the person you want to see. It's very important to do that. I think those are the things that have really given me a chance to be a leader, not only in my community, with my businesses, to be a leader, even still doing the Georgia games. You know, we had a big Zoom today with Eric Zier, myself, Scott Howard, Neil Williamson. We were all talking about the season coming up, and it's kind of a preview show that we're doing. We're talking about how important it is to be honest and to bring Georgia's news, games to their fans. And it's something you got to take very seriously. You can have a lot of fun. I'm a bulldog through and through. I mean, when you go to Clemson, they have the same type of environment at their place. Georgia Tech, these people go and support their programs because they love their programs. They love what they do. And we've got that same opportunity. It is going to be a fun year. 2020 is a crazy year. You know, the ACC's playing themselves. SEC's going to play themselves. I think we'll all meet somewhere, hopefully in 2021, when 20 is behind us. But it is fun to watch this, and I think it's changed. First time all these teams have just played their own divisions. But there's going to be some great opportunities for them. You know, we start out in Arkansas this week. Georgia's got a lot going on right now. You've got a lot of new ways to recruit in college football now. You talk about your grad transfers, you talk about transfers that just want to transfer, you talk about people that just want to go play for another school. They seem to be able to do that now. It's quite different from when I played. You know, you wouldn't sign at Georgia or Clemson or South Carolina, you were there. It would take an act of God for you to be able to get out of that scholarship. And that was when they had maybe 95 scholarships. So it's all changed now. 28, 25 a year. Some kid goes, you open up one. Gives you an opportunity to change some personnel, bring somebody else in, and they can do something special. So we've had a lot of things happen in Georgia, as far as the season goes, but, you know, we've got to go through changes just to get in the stadium. I know that some people if you have season tickets, some people will be able to come. That's all going to be different. Who knows how these teams are going to react to that? You know, here, I was supposed to be here going down to Alabama. We booked this, you were thinking about going down to Alabama's going to be 100,000 people in that stadium, and we know what happens in an Alabama stadium when you're a visitor. It's not really fun stuff that you can talk about. And all of a sudden, we're going down there to an empty stadium, or maybe 25,000 people. But it's certainly not that atmosphere. So what's going to help these guys? Preparation. Kirby's freaking out right now because of the weather. Kirby's, coaches can always find, they got coaches in, they always find that one thing that you weren't even thinking about that's driving them crazy. And the weather right now, conditioning is one of the biggest things. Georgia right now is practicing one day, off one day, practicing one day, off one day. That can drive a coach crazy right off the bat. And it's harder to stay in shape when you're not getting those consecutive days. You're not getting those consecutive days in heat, in hot weather. Everything was pushed back. You really weren't in that August heat like you always have been. Now we get a cool spell. Heat is just, it's all working up. And every coach, I think, starts to think about where can things go wrong. And in this season, I think a lot of things can happen and go wrong. That's a little bit different from the other years because it's the little things that make the difference. I know Coach will tell you, he must probably say that every day in practice. It's the little things in football that makes the difference. And when you can't spend extra time on those little details, something's going to happen. Something's going to go wrong. And all of a sudden, you're going to have to change and make sure that you can find that opportunity in there that you were prepared for. If you can't prepare for that, you'll never be able to overcome it when it happens. So, those are the challenges. I think, the challenges this year for the players, I think you see a little bit in the NFL already. Injuries. And, we've got the ortho group here from Georgia. That is a problem. When you can't train every day at the level that they have been, when they get out on the field, these kids are strong. They're big. They're fast. They're going to do things and movements that their bodies aren't ready for. And all of a sudden, something pops. Pull muscle here. Ankle, knee, shoulder, whatever it might be. I think that's going to play a lot more into college football this year, as pro football this year, because that preparation time has been limited. So that's going to be a challenge. And that's going to be a challenge because the teams that aren't the deepest with depth are going to suffer the most. And we pretty much know who those teams are. We talk about the top 5 teams for the past few years. They've had great recruiting. They built up depth, and it shows when they're out there. We got a big old offensive lineman over here, young man. He stood up. I was like, well, I'm sure there's a defensive lineman that would like to have another guy come in and get in front of him every other play because he's out there pounding people, pancake blocking. But you kept bringing in somebody fresh every time, it makes his job a little harder. And the teams that can do that this year, I think you'll see a little bit more success out of them. And it's going to be a challenging year without a doubt. But I think, to be a leader and to try to get the best out of what you can for the student athletes, again, embrace change. Always know there's an opportunity in those situations of change. And just be prepared. Be prepared the best you can. School, your family, and your sports. I think you will have great successes in your life. What I'd like to do is we got questions out here where people like to ask some questions. I can answer anything. And if y'all keep it a secret, I'll make up some answers if I don't know anything. Yes, sir. He asked me, I was able to see Herschel Walker, and how do you compare the great running backs? Well, the easiest comparison is their preparation. I mean, Herschel was Herschel. I got to Chicago and I saw Walton. I went, both of you wearing 34. Walton, you're a little bit smaller, but Herschel, it was just so funny because they were the best at their position at each of their levels. And they were tremendous people, great teammates. But Herschel's physical ability was just nothing like we had seen then. You started getting Bo Jackson came in after that, and Dupree came in, and you started seeing the big back. And then you get to Adrian Peterson, that type of running back became new back when Herschel came in. That we could really see guys that big feed that fast. And I think you certainly see that now. Running backs, you see them in all different sizes, from Derrick Henry to a smaller scat back that can cause you just as much trouble like a DeAndre Swift. I mean, he's not that size, but he's certainly dangerous. And when you get coaches and you get systems, these players fit in and make a huge difference. Walter was one of a kind. I mean, I went. You think you're in a big place when you're at the University of Georgia, and then I got drafted and went up to Chicago, and first year we rolled through probably one of the best teams of all time, and won the Super Bowl, and we went back to Chicago the next day, and it's 20 below, and there's 1 million people out in the streets just going crazy. And that was the first time I went, well, maybe Chicago is a little bigger than Athens. It didn't even comprehend to me that you have an effect on so many people, and they didn't care if it was 100 below. They were going to be out there because they had lived it, they had waited for that day, and that's when I knew that I was in a very special place. And what I say is that the NFL it's a privilege to play in the NFL. It is not a right to play in the NFL. You have to work, you have to perform, you have to maintain a very high level to keep a job. That's what I learned. That's not that's what you learn when you play in the NFL. So it was pretty amazing to go from Georgia to Chicago, and then full circle come back to Georgia. And I've been involved with the broadcast for, I think, 12 years now. Another question? Yes? Yeah, Jamie Newsom, he asked me why that decision was made, why it came so late. He was considered the starter. My belief is this: there's only one way Jamie Newsom could have gone this year, and that would have been down. Unless he went and played every game, and they won the national championship, something that he would have done might have knocked him down a little bit more in the draft, in his draft evaluation. Right now, everybody's looking at him as top 3 picks. People ask me, what do you think about Jamie as a quarterback? I go, he takes a great picture, because that's all I've seen. I've seen him in a picture. He's got huge arms. He just looks like a quarterback. Did I get to see him? I saw him in 2 scrimmages. He did good. He did not stand out to me. J.T. Daniels is there. DeJuan Mathis is there. There's a lot of competition there. So I think if he, for some reason, didn't perform well, and they put another quarterback in, his draft stock drops down. So it was a selfish decision that I do not blame him at all for. It was to protect his next step going into the NFL. And you can't really blame him in this kind of a year when, again, things have changed. There's different opportunities, and he's going to seize that opportunity outside of Georgia. It wouldn't that be hard if we got drafted by the Falcons? He'd be right back here, so I don't know. I want to do that. Yes, sir. Yeah, the 2 quarterbacks, just from what I've seen, I would think I would go with DeJuan Mathis just because I think he's a little bit more mobility, but I really do believe you'll see both of them playing the game. I think that's something that they need to do because you're jumping into Auburn, Tennessee, Alabama. There's not a chance for us to say, oh, we're going to go play, whoever we usually have, Southwest Louisiana, somebody to where we can get reps and everything. You haven't had spring practice. So I think Kirby's going to get both of them in there. I think DeJuan just is a little bit more athletic. I mean, he's 6'6". He's put on a lot of weight this past year. And he's overcome some big challenges. Throws the ball good. he throws the ball good, and if he gets outside, there's probably nobody faster than him on our offense. So I think it gives Kirby a good chance to play both people. You know, we were like my friend here in purple and ours. We know who our quarterback would be, and we're trying to get to that point. I think we got some great prospects, but new coordinator in there, new offense. It's really going to be which guy feels the most comfortable going into this game when they'll start. Yes, sir.
Kevin, with the dead period being extended through the rest of the year, can you talk about the ripples from that and how it, Georgia specifically, the effects of that and the good end of that, or the challenges of that?
Talking about the dead period that they had throughout the spring and everything.
Yeah, now through the rest of the year.
Yeah, you know what, I think Georgia did as good as most schools did. I think the schools that, and let's be honest, the schools that have bigger budgets have more ability to communicate, have more ability to offer distance learning, and that distance learning does count for football. You know, they have their iPads. You know, every team out there now, they have their iPads. They're downloaded when they come in from practice. Their practice films are already broke down on these iPads, so they can go home and they can look at them. When I was coaching there, I'd come home. By the time I got home, everything was laid out on the pad. I'd watch the kickers, the punters. So they're doing that, but nothing replaces. And coach will tell you, nothing replaces that camaraderie and the camaraderie you build up when you're in a team meeting room. You know, first of all, Georgia doesn't have a meeting room big enough to have their team all together and enough spacing between them. Much like we are here. They have to follow these same protocols. It's not like they get in the Bucksmere building and say, okay, everybody get in the room. They're still following protocols, because if something goes wrong, they can be shut down just like that again. So I think that they've done, just like about every other university, they've done the best they can do. But I really believe you're going to see it on the field with the top 10 teams, and I think you're going to see a much bigger gap in the next 10 teams this year because of those dead periods and because of the little things that you just can't instill in them on a daily basis. Again, creatures of habit. You want them to get in the game and react. You don't want them to get in the game and have to think, because hesitation kills, and it does in football field. The punting situation, he said, what's the Australian rule punt, and then the regular punt. Well, the only thing I like about the Australian, they have a cool accent. They won't go pump the ball, and I'm like, that sounds great. Say that again, you know. But it's different. Georgia has, I think, the best punter in the nation right now. Jake Lamar he's head and shoulders above the next guy. So Kirby talks about, could Jake do both, kick field goals and punt? I like what Jake does compared to the Australian rule punters, because they're really hitting it and just going for hang time and trying to bomb it. If you bomb it, you have a really good returner. You're going to give him a little bit more time to run the ball back. I just like the ability to kick to the corners. I like the ability to make sure where you want to kick it, the ball's going. And I don't think it's as sure thing with the Australian rule punt. But I think when you get inside that 50 and you go down the 40-yard line, that's the new huge punt for kids too. So, you can take it or leave it. Some coaches swear by it, but I like a traditional punter that's just a punter. Yes?
Prior to your kicking against Clemson, what were you supposed to do in this conversation?
What? Say that again, I'm sorry?
Prior to your kick against Clemson, what was your conversation with Coach Dooley?
What was my conversation with Coach Dooley before the Clemson kick? I said, did you see that boy over there? I don't know. I used to make Vince Dooley so mad because no matter what happened, when we crossed the 50-yard line, I just started walking like right by him, just kind of looking at him. And he's like, it's first down. What do you get out of my way? So we kicked field goal. that if you want, it's legal. I was just there, so I don't know what, I was ready to kick it, so he knew it. It was just a matter of when he was gonna send me out there to do it. Those Clemson games back then, Donald Heathway was a kicker for them. Obed O'Reilly was a kicker before them. They had great soccer teams, and these guys came from Nigeria and were great soccer players and great kickers. And I think the year before, in Clemson, the game ended with, I think, Donald tried a 66-yarder, and I tried a 67-yarder, last two plays of the game. I think they were both wide left. Both of us had plenty of distance, but that was when it was 16-16 tie. Everybody go home. So it's like it's over, and you're sitting there looking, well, we don't have that anymore. You play till you get a winner, but every game that we played with Clemson back in my 4 years, kicking was a huge part of it, and most of the time, it determined the outcome of the game. So it was, he told me a lot to get out of his way. That's probably what he said to me that day, so, but it was fun to get out there. Yes?
When it comes to ice sticker,
Mhm.
all the time out.
Yeah.
That's really effective.
No, it's good TV time. Yeah. It's good TV time for a kicker. You don't get on there much. So when I told Rodrigo, I said, if they ice you, start looking around at the camera and say hi, Mom. I said, don't sit there and stare at the goalpost. Because if you stare at the goalpost, that thing gets littler and littler and littler, and that's when the ice works. I think really, if you get out in there, and I'll give you a perfect example. We played Green Bay, which, Chicago, you hate Green Bay. It's very easy to do. I encourage everybody to hate Green Bay. And when you go out there, we go out there for the last play of the game. It's a 52-yard field goal. It was in late October. The field was a mess. And Forrest Gregg called a timeout. They gave me and Mike Toms out my over. All we were doing was, it was like we were playing mud cakes. We were on the ground, patting it all down, trying to smooth out a patch. And that's exactly what we did. And that really gave us an opportunity to help me have some footing, and we made that field goal. And as I say, you could have heard a piece of cheese dropping that stuff. That was a fun day. Yes, sir. The two freshman kickers, Jared Zirkle, I think is capable of doing the job. I think that, I've had this conversation with Kirby for years. For some reason, college coaches, and I mean every one of them, don't coach kickers. They don't get a kicking coach to coach kickers, but they'll have a quarterback coach, or a tight end coach. Coach the linemen, coach the defensive line, defensive backs. They do not have kicking coaches. And kickers don't develop on their own. You don't send kickers over to the magical field and they come back and they're better. It just doesn't work that way. You have to always work to get better. All these kids have coaches in the offseason, which is great. I think you should. It's like golf. You always got to work on something. And kicking's the same way. And Jared can be a good kicker, but if it's not me, it needs to be somebody that spends time with these kids and mentally develops them and physically develops them in the right way. Because just like the quarterback, there's certain skills that they have to work on. And again, just going over to the field and giving me 10 kicks and coming back and telling me what the chart is, you're going to get yourself in trouble with that one. And, I hate to see Georgia do that, but when you put a freshman kicker out there, you better have somebody out there that knows how to talk to them during the game. Kickers are fragile people. You can tell by me right now. No, it's a tough thing to do. Yes, sir. What was the difference between Rodrigo in year 1 and year 2? I separated from his dad. And I told that to Rodrigo. I said, your dad was such a wonderful dad that he became too wonderful. and you need to separate. You know, you got to push the bird out of the nest every now and then. And honestly, that's where he was. And, you know, it's documented when Rodrigo's father came out and had a letter that was put in the paper. I think Rodrigo at that point understood what we were trying to get him to do, stand on his own, and he came out with a great letter that basically said that. And I mean it, from that day on, Rodrigo matured much more than anybody else could say. And then with kicking, it was, you know, I was out there for 2 years with him at practice, and I made a difference. I'm not bragging on me, but again, just like you said, I gave him structure, and kickers respond to structure. Just like every football player, they love structure. Why would you not put structure around a guy that you will put out on the field with 2 seconds left to win you a ball game? I wouldn't do it, and a lot of teams do. And you know, you wonder, you know, all one miss takes it, you can go sideways at that point. No, they do not. No, the closest they got to a kicking coach is behind the podium right now. Why doesn't Kirby hire me? When's Kirby going to be down here? Every time I get to Kirby, I do it like on about 4 times during the year. Kirby does his show on Thursday nights. About 4 times a year, we'll have a live audience in there, and I'll usually get there for an hour before, and I'll kind of warm them up. And he knows that Butler's out there, because every time I say, okay, one of y'all has to ask you this question. I go, where I go? When is he going to hire Kevin Butler? And each time they do it, which is great, it just little jab in the side. You know what? There's just I don't know. There's rules. The rules are made to be broke, right? Yeah, I could be an announcer and just think if I was an announcer of sideline reporting, I'd already be down there. You know, it's just you only allow so many coaches, but yeah, a consultant, I could be a consultant, come in there and do it. It's just I did that when I went back to school. So you all might have heard me, I went back to school when I got drafted by the Bears in '85. You just get drafted and you go. So I went up there, went to my first meeting. This is a story. Went to my first meeting with the Chicago Bears. I was sitting in there, and sure enough, Walter Payton's in there, Mike Singletary, Richard. Then I'm looking at all these future Hall of Famers, and they get up in there. This is in April, and I mean, they asked Coach Dicker to leave the room, and they had been beating the NFC Championship game the year before, 23-0 by the 49ers. And all they talked about in April was, if you weren't about winning the Super Bowl, you weren't going to make the team. Nothing's less. It's Super Bowl or nothing. And I got all fired up. You know, I'm thinking, this is great. I go up and I call my fiance. What's your name? I said, hey, we got to change our wedding. She's like, you've only been up there 4 hours. Would you beat somebody? I said, no, just got out of a meeting. I said, the Bears are going to the Super Bowl. I said, I'm going to make the team. And the Super Bowl is that Saturday before our wedding, so we got to change our wedding. We got to knock it back 2 weeks. Sure enough, long story short, so we moved the wedding. We won the Super Bowl. It was pretty special. But you knew something was special in that room. And you know, when you can get a group like that together, you know, I've been on good teams at Georgia, so I kind of knew what that feeling was. You know, Herschel won the Heisman, so we played big games. You step up and you saw the names. This is the best of the best that's in that room then. And you want to be a part of it. So that was, you know, that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. Yes?
What was it like to play for Dicker?
What was it like to play for Dicker? Well, before I went out to kick one game, winning field goal, he looked at me and told me, you are the worst kicker I've ever seen. I said, okay. I said, that's not a booster right there. But, I said, and you know, he had a pretty good reason that day. I was 1 for 5 going out for that field goal. It was just windy day in Chicago. We're playing Philadelphia. This is the first game that Buddy Ryan, after we won the Super Bowl, Buddy Ryan went to Philly. So of course, we play Philly the next year, and we played, and I'm 1 for 5, and we're going into OT. We're going into overtime. And I mean, we got to kick off in overtime. So I'm thinking, all right, well, I got 1 year in, and I'm about to get fired, so, you know, we'll just see what happens. Because in overtime's in, usually if you kick off, you're going to lose. So we kick off, and Dave Dorson, God rest his soul, he goes down and hits this guy from Philly. Ball goes up there, we recovered it at like the 6-yard line. And I'm standing right there, and Greg Landry was offense coordinator, and they go, yeah, let's just kick a field goal, let's kick a field goal. And Dick just looks at me and goes, are you kidding me? And I'm like, and I was sitting there going, I think we should run it in, to be honest with you. Well, we got a really good running back, I think he'd be comfortable to get it in the end zone right now. We go 2nd down. 3rd down, they're going, let's just kick it in case something goes wrong. He just looks at me, he's like, no. And I'm like, I really can't blame him. I'm thinking, he's a head coach, he's smart. We get to 4th down, and he looked at me and said, you think you can put your foot on the ball? And I said, yeah. I said, I'm going to make this, you watch. He goes, I ain't watching. Swear to God, just boom. I go out there, I kick it, I come running back over, and I'm like, oh, I told you I'd make it. He snapped around, he goes, I told you I wasn't watching. I was like, okay. I'll never do that again. I made it through that game, luckily. You know, Coach Stickett was great. Coach Stickett challenged you. He would get up in your face, yell at you, and if you did not stand up for yourself or yell back something, you were done. If you didn't stand up for yourself, he didn't like that. He didn't care what you say back or anything, but he wanted to make sure that he was getting the spark in you. That you weren't just going to turn around and walk away or something. But I talk to Mike all the time. I love him. You know, he's, you know, I go from Vince Dooley to Mike Vick, 2 great people that have helped me out in my life. I can turn to each one of those at a second on a phone call, and they would do anything for me as I would do for them. And that's, you know, at the end of the day, when you play a lot, those relationships are everything. They really are. Yes, sir.
That's the story of the fridge.
The Fridge, he's the best. Well, me and the Fridge, you know, our senior year, we got picked like the South's top 11. So we had gotten picked like in April, and we had to get measured for tuxedos. And they were bringing us into Atlanta, which, you know, was a 5-mile jaunt for me when I grew up in DeKalb. But they bring us on to Atlanta, and we were putting, you know, our tuxes on, and if they, well, we get there, and this is, you know, 3 months since we got measured. Well, nothing fit Fridge. He had grown tremendously big by that time. And so we sat around, we had to sit around for like 4 hours to wait. But when he got drafted, it was great because we had played against each other. You know, we certainly knew of each other, but when you go to a new place like Chicago, for me and him, we were buddies. It wasn't a Clemson, Georgia thing. It was us going up north trying to figure out how do we make this team. Now, obviously, Fridge was in a much better situation being a first-round pick. But, you know, all those kind of things are dropped by the wayside when you become teammates in the pros. You have fun when you're batting on game days and you play each other, but Fridge was one of the nicest guys. He made practices fun for everybody because he was always laughing. Nothing would make him mad. I mean, if he got into a slapping fight with one of the linemen, you just hear this big old laugh come out of it, and see Fridge just laughing. Then everybody else would start laughing, and you'd forget about a fight. He was, you know, just a happy, great teammate, and you still see him, still talk to him. He's had some troubles health-wise, but Coach Ditka, you know, Coach Ditka has been taking care of him financially with all his insurance and rehabilitation. As long as he stuck with that, Coach Ditka said, I'll always have your back, but if I hear you're not going and doing what you're supposed to do,